I've come up with 10 of the most important things every new gardener should be thinking about from seed to harvest to have the most successful first year in the garden. So the first thing you're going to want to know is your grow zone. You can go into sites like the USDA Plant Hardiness Zone Map. Just type in grow zone in your search bar. It's usually the first one to come up. Locate your area on the map and click into it. I'm in central New Jersey. You can see I'm in zone 7A. You can also search by zip. And now that you know your grow zone, you can find out what plants, vegetables, flowers, etc. you can grow in your area. So another good tool to help you with your grow zone is Lowe's.com. They have this cool feature where they have every zone broken out and it will just display everything that you can grow in your zone. So for example, if you're planting vegetables and you want to see which vegetables and herbs or flowers you can plant, you can search by seed packets and it'll show you everything that's possible for that area. You can also drill down further to, for example, full sun or partial shade. It just really depends on where you're going to grow in your space and what's possible. As a new gardener, another important detail that you need to know is your frost date. I like the Farmer's Almanac for this. You could search by zip code and it will give you a pretty comprehensive list of what you can plant in spring and what you can plant in fall. It will tell you your average last frost date, along with the dates that you can start your seedlings indoors, when you can transplant them outdoors, or when you can direct sow outdoors. You can also drill down into these plants and you can get information on preferred soil conditions, germination time, and time to harvest. I found this tool incredibly helpful when I was just starting out, and I still use this today. I just think it's full of great information. So another important element of gardening is understanding where in your gardening space or where you plan on gardening you're going to get sun or shade, or is it going to be partial sun, partial shade. So for my home, the front of my house is south facing, which means that as the sun is crossing over, I'm getting full sun all day long in the front of my home. Now, as days get longer and the sun gets higher in the sky, I'm getting a lot of sun in my backyard, which is where I have my garden. However, I also have a lot of mature trees on either side of my property and around the property. So as the sun crosses over, it casts shadows into the yard and shade. And so it's important to understand where you're placing your garden. Are you going to get a lot of shade? Are you going to get sun? Is it partial? There's this cool tool called suncalc.com, and you just plug in your address and it'll show you in relation to your property where the sun rises, where it sets, and positionally where the sun is on a given date and time. You can change the dates and times just to, get a sense of, for example, in the middle of summer, where's the sun going to be falling in your yard? A lot of the plants that you're going to put in the ground are going to be requiring 6 to 8 hours of sunshine a day. So here you can see this house is probably going to get a lot of morning and mid-afternoon sun on the right side of the property, but later in the day and on the left side of the house, it's not going to get much. It's probably going to get a lot of shade. So you need to know what's possible for your space and where you can plant. The next thing you'll need to decide is how you're going to plant. So do you have a yard? Do you have a space where you can plant in the ground? Or do you need to build and or buy raised beds for your garden? Are you limited to the space? Do you have a patio or a deck? Will you need to plant in grow bags or pots? And this is the time to be thinking about that. Also, you'll need some good soil and or soil amendments and access to a convenient water source. So now you know your grow zone, your last frost date, you have an idea of your space, where you're getting sun, and how you're going to grow, whether that's raised beds, grow bags, or a combination of it. Now it's time to get your seeds. And this is the fun part. And I don't want to discourage you from being an ambitious gardener, but my recommendation would be to start smaller with the tried and true beginner-friendly herbs, veggies, and flowers, both annuals and perennials, that will give you your highest chance of success. Radishes are super easy to grow. They are a root crop. You plant them in early to mid-spring and typically harvest them somewhere around 20 to 30 days. Fruiting vegetables like tomatoes, zucchini, and cucumbers are also great for beginners. Beans are ready in under 50 days. Herbs like basil and cilantro are great for the garden. Cold hardy perennials like oregano and chives are low maintenance and help to deter pests. and flowers like marigold and zinnia help to bring in pollinators. Next, I would recommend keeping a journal. I keep mine on a spreadsheet. It's just easy to replicate year over year and just tweaking a few important details like dates. It keeps me on track for when I need to sow things indoors, when I can transplant them out, and when I can sow directly outdoors. Always working around the average last frost date. And keep track of what went well, what didn't, germination times, nuances in the garden, your observations, and then this will help you with next year's garden. Now it's time to start your seedlings indoors, and you're going to need a few things. You'll need some seed starting trays, and then you'll also need some larger pots so that you could pot up those seedlings to give them more room. You'll need some good lighting, like these grow lights, and they give the high intensity light that seedlings need to grow. You could put them on timers and let them run 12 to 16 hours every day. You'll also need a good seed starting mix like this one I made with cocoa coir and perlite, and you'll also need an additional potting mix. These are easy to buy online, or just follow along with me. I'm going to show you how I make my mixes. And lastly, you'll need a heat mat to help with germination of your seedlings. I'm going to list everything that I use down below. The next important thing to know is the process of hardening off. After you've babied your seedlings for months, they need to be hardened off before planted outside. This process begins about 2 weeks before your plant out date, when you bring your seedlings outdoors into the shade to adjust them to the light and the wind and the temperatures. Gradually, you'll bring them into the sun more and more each day until they can successfully remain outdoors on their own overnight. But what's more important than the actual plant out date are the overnight temperatures. So you need to be monitoring the weather about a week out from your intended plant out date. If temperatures are expected to drop below 50 degrees, if there is an anticipated frost, for example, that will kill your tender seedlings. So you'll need to either delay your plant out date, or you'll have to protect your seedlings with something like a row cover. It could be a plastic tarp or even clutches. Next, you'll want to get on a watering and feeding schedule, and as a best practice, you should be watering at the base of the plant to target its roots, not overhead, pouring the water on the leaves. If leaves stay wet too long, especially in high humidity conditions, it can lead to fungal disease. And while you cannot control the weather, you can control how you water. So watering at the base, either through hand watering or drip irrigation, is the best method to minimize the effect of wet leaves and fungal disease. And this brings me to my final point, which is have fun. This is a learning experience. You're going to have some great wins, and you're also going to experience some challenges, and every year it's going to bring something new, and you're going to learn something new every year as well. Planting a tiny seed, watching it emerge into a seedling that then becomes the food on your table, is a wonderful and beautiful experience. I love it. It's a huge part of my life. I hope you enjoyed this video and got a lot out of it. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to be putting out videos every week, and I'm taking you along the journey from seed starting to harvest, preserving, and much more.